guys, I wanted to talk about 5 things that I like to do when I'm feeling blue, when I'm in an emotional funk. Just a reminder, I'm not a professional. If you suffer from depression, it's a good idea to talk to a doctor. The tips that I will give in this video are strictly based off of my own experiences. I think all of us have days and weeks and even months where we're feeling kind of down and not quite ourselves. There are a lot of things that people like to do to try to make themselves feel better. Some people like to watch TV, some people like to drink, some people like to go shopping. Anything that will take our minds off of our emotions. It's totally understandable why people would want to do these things. For me, however, I almost always feel like those things make the problem worse, and I like to try to get to the root of the issue and go from there. So, here are my 5 tips for getting out of a funk. My first tip is to journal. I like to write about what I'm feeling and why I think I'm feeling that way. This helps me to get a better idea about what the issue is here and to try to figure out a clear solution to address the problem. Jess Lively, who I've spoken about before, she has a podcast called The Lively Show. She recommends an exercise that she calls writing to your intuition. And for a better explanation about what that is, you can visit the link that I'll post in the description box below. But it's definitely a helpful exercise to get you kind of communicating with your true self. My second tip is if you can see that you are feeling a certain way and you can kind of wrap your head around the fact that you're feeling that way, you can try to rationalize the issue. If you know what the issue is, if you think you know what the issue is, try to rationalize why you're feeling that way and what can be done about it. So the whole reason I'm making this video is because I was feeling upset lately about humans in general. It's that stupid Facebook. Every time I go on Facebook, I see a post about the treatment of animals. And I mean, there's tons of other horrible stuff going on in the world right now. Just take a look at any major news network, especially in light of all the things that happened in Orlando. It's probably a hard time for a lot of people, even people who aren't directly connected to those events. Anyway, so every time I go onto Facebook, I see something sad. I see a lot of videos or pictures about our mistreatment of non-human animals and human animals. But what really gets to me is the non-human animals. And that can be a whole other video if anybody's interested, but I digress. So I see these animals being abused, and it just is so hard for me to get out of my mind. And then I perpetuate it because I share it on Facebook. It's so sad and terrible, but at the same time, like, I'm glad that we can see that it exists, otherwise people wouldn't believe it. It's almost like a necessary evil. You know, a big interest of mine is to figure out how we don't need to share horrible videos to get people to care about animals. Anyway, so I've been feeling really down about that. It's been affecting my moods, my days. What I mean by rationalizing the issue is like, okay, so I care about these animals. I don't want to have to see them suffer. I don't want them to suffer at all. But me getting caught up in the emotion of it isn't going to help those animals. Yes, it's a good instigator for me to get thinking about how to help, but after that initial sadness, it's probably most productive to transition into action. So in order for me to act, I need to feel good and I need to feel energized and not sad and depressed with low energy from that sadness. So So I need to take care of myself, my emotions, my well-being, physically and mentally, in order to put my best foot forward. I think that goes for any cause you care about that makes you feel sadness. You know, there's tons of crappy stuff happening right now, and there always has been tons of crappy stuff happening, and it changes when people act. And maybe people don't need to be happy all the time to act on those issues. I think a lot has gotten done out of anger and frustration, and that might make sense in some situations. It's just hard to know. I just say don't make yourself suffer. You know yourself. If you're gonna act, if you're gonna give yourself over to that cause and act out of anger and sadness and frustration, if that's what motivates you, great. For me, I think I do my best work coming from a place of love and compassion and wellness. Let me know your thoughts on all that. Because when I feel depressed, all I want to do is watch TV, check social media over and over and over and over and over, and eat. My third tip is to talk to people. Talk to people who have my best interest in mind. So these people, I mean, I don't have a ton of them, but I'm lucky to have as many as I do, and these people will listen. They will kind of help me rationalize the issue and help me to get back on track. Now, sometimes you don't hear what you want to hear from these people. Sometimes that's because it's probably not the right advice for you, or sometimes you know it's right and you don't want to do it. But it always helps for me to talk to people who care about me and kind of get their take on it all. My fourth tip is to read something from a different perspective. So anytime I'm feeling blue or sad or just kind of upset about the state of the world, I will come back to two books. The first is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, it might be kind of obvious why I would come back to this. If you haven't read it, read it. It's amazing. My second book that I come back to is The Four Agreements, written by Don Miguel Ruiz. Both of these books remind me that I'm responsible for my life and I'm responsible for how I'm feeling, basically. No matter what's going on in my life, in the world that affects me, I'm responsible for how I respond. They remind me to take care of myself so that I can work towards the changes that I want to see in the world. These two books are going to be a whole separate video because I think they're so important. I think every human on the planet should have to read these two books. My fifth tip is a gratitude practice. Now, this can be kind of tricky depending on what is causing you to feel depressed or sad or blue or in a funk. If you're feeling so sad because of the state of the world, for me, sometimes feelings of, I don't know if it's guilt. I don't think it's guilt. I think it's more like the fact that I have so much and so much good in my life and like have a great family and a safe place to live and, you know, basically no trauma in my life. I feel so lucky, and that, I guess it is a sort of guilt. Like I feel like, of course I'm grateful for all that I have or all that I am or all that my family is, because it's like mostly just good stuff and I'm very lucky for that. So to think about those things when feeling sad about the world can kind of, I won't say make it worse, but I don't know if it necessarily helps. You have to get the right type of gratitude, I think. Like I can be grateful for being so relatively healthy and in a safe place, so that I can be my best self, so that I can help others. That's one way to put it. if that's not the root of your sadness, gratitude, I think, is definitely a great, great, great thing. If it's more of a personal issue causing your feelings of sadness, then I would definitely recommend a gratitude practice. I have a video about that I'll link here. And the simple act of thinking about things around you, things that you have, things that you are, that you're thankful for, I think will kind of remind you of all the good things in your life and hopefully help out. So like I said before, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional. These are things that help me when I'm feeling sad, and I hope maybe one of these things could help you if you ever feel sad. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Ugh.